state office.
Hello, good evening, everyone. We are going to call this meeting to order. It is 6:30. And we are going to start with the Honolulu Fire Department. Good evening, everyone. Happy beginning of April. So is the fire department here? They are not only here, but they're literally here. Great. Good evening.
Good evening, guys. My name is firefighter recruit Scott Fisher with the Honolulu Fire Department out at Engine 29, Mōʻiliʻili. Here are the incident statistics for March 25. For fires, we've had two structure, no wildland brush fires, one nuisance fire, which include rubbish fires outside a structure or vehicle, one cooking related fire, and 10 activated fire alarms with no fire. For emergencies, we've had 121 medical emergencies, one motor vehicle collision with pedestrian, 12 motor vehicle crash collisions, no mountain rescues or ocean rescues or hazardous material incidents. A fire safety tip for April 2025 is evacuation planning. So what we want to do is we want to ensure you have an emergency preparedness plan in place for situations like environmental emergencies, fires, or natural disasters. Familiarize yourself with at least 2 escape routes from your home and plan for an evacuation path if you must leave your neighborhood due to an emergency. For more information, you may visit fire.honolulu.gov. Some bullet points: we want to leave early to avoid getting trapped by a fire, smoke, or traffic delays. And we want to set up a predetermined meeting spot like a trusted neighbor or relative's home, a low-risk area, a shelter, or evacuation center. And lastly, we want to bring your emergency supply kit with essential items for your family and pets. That's all we have for that. Any questions?
Anyone on the board with questions? It's in person. All right, I have a question. I'm just curious if you guys are the ones who often are handling overdoses and what the picture looks like this year versus last year.
Well, I've just been kind of in the system scene for just some time now, or for a little bit of time, but we do report to overdose if it is a medical. If it comes as a medical call, we will report, and we tag team with EMS and whatnot, and we mitigate those situations.
Do you have any sense of how it compares to previous months or years?
No, but we can look back on our previous statistics and get back to that.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the board online? Community members? Thank you for coming. All right, I got really excited and we, go ahead. Did I skip someone?
Yeah, Morgan? Hello?
Paul? Paul, did you have a
Yes.
question? All
Yes,
right,
I do.
unfortunately
Real
they
quick.
already left. They left.
No, it's a question for you. We didn't do a roll
Okay.
call.
I know, I was just about to go to that right now. Curtis
okay.
and I are about to tackle it, but thank you for the reminder.
Okay.
Roll call. Aldana,
Present.
Delvalle, absent. Galdera, Hulls, Kachuk, absent.
Here.
Kim, oh, online. Kim,
Kim present.
Lee, Minervi, online. Quadri,
Yes, online.
online. Robati, online. Salis, Young.
Here, online.
Chair, you have 12. Quorum has been.
Sorry for forgetting to do that earlier. Let's go to the Honolulu Police Department, District 1.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Wang, representing District 1. Stats for this month: motor vehicle theft is 4, burglary is 0, theft is 9, and UEMV is 2. Total calls for service for this month is 380. Questions on the muffler or the noise stuff and the stats for the enforcement, I'll defer to Lieutenant Nishimura.
Does anyone have any questions? This is for District 1. All right, any other questions online? I don't really see anyone. Thank you very much for coming. Let's go to District 7.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Lieutenant Nishimura representing District 7. The following are the statistics for the month of March 2025. Motor vehicle theft 4, burglary 6, theft 17, and UEMV or car break-ins were 11, with total calls for service in our district at 6,194. And instead of the safety tip this month, we've been asked to provide an update on the muffler noise laws. So I'd like to present the following. So the statistics that we found for the time period for the year was 11 total citations were issued. Fines for the muffler, loud mufflers, and it could be with regards to mopeds, motorcycles, or vehicles are $72. So that's the fine for the citation. Now, as with regards to the muffler laws, muffler requirements are that you must have a muffler. And again, this is referring to mopeds, motorcycles, or vehicles. And the mufflers must be able to prevent excessive fumes and or noise. Any modifications to the muffler are prohibited. You cannot alter or modify the muffler to increase the noise or exhaust, and it has to be according to the factory specs. The definition given for excessive noise is, quote, means noise in excess of the usual noise that would necessarily result from the operation of a motor when reduced to the minimum by a muffler operated in the manner and meeting the standards described in this subsection. And lastly, we'd just like to go over how we enforce the muffler laws. Most of the enforcement that we will do will be on view. And what that means is when the officers are on patrol, they will see something, then they'll observe the violation themselves. In this case, observe and or hear the violation themselves, and then they'll conduct enforcement. But we also will respond to these kind of incidents to 911 calls for service. And also, if we receive a specific area or some more specific information with regards to the loud muffler, we will observe and we'll monitor a certain area for a certain amount of time. And we will then conduct enforcement again as necessary as we see it. It is most helpful to us if you're going to provide some information, that if we could have it as specific as possible, with specific times and specific areas versus something like, we hear loud mufflers, or would like to see if HPD can conduct enforcement, during the daylight hours. So that would be very difficult for us to do. But if we can kind of narrow it down a little bit, maybe between, 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning in the area of, University Avenue and King Street or something like that, that would be very helpful to us so that we can conduct better enforcement. But that's our report for the month. Thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant Nishimura, I have a question about that. What if I capture something on video and you can see where the streets are, you can see the license plate of this vehicle? Would that be something that you guys would cite or prosecute?
We wouldn't be able to cite under those specific circumstances, although we would appreciate the information so that we can, again, in the future, conduct enforcement, particularly if the information with the license plate, we can kind of narrow it down to an area or a location where the person may live or frequent. So that would be very helpful to us. And then we could conduct enforcement from there.
Right. Are there other questions here? Edward?
Yes, I have a question
Hold
about
on.
the freeway.
Edward's going to, 1 second. We're going to take the questions that are in the room first.
Yes, officer. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is HPD equipped with excessive noise technology, either stationary towers or in the squad cars, as is some of the West Coast cities now? Or is there something on the table that you need funding for this equipment? And where does that stand? Because the technology is there to help the police so that they can address other more necessary violent crime than wasting time on noise pollution. There is the technology. Do you have any money for it, or do you have some of those things already planned and about to be installed?
So currently, we do not have any equipment in the field, whether with the individual officers or like in a tower format. So that we don't have that at this time. And as far as I know, we don't have any plans set aside to incorporate that type of equipment in our enforcement duties at this time.
All right, Chris.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, did you say that this was a new law or at least an updated law? And if so, how has it helped with enforcing and citing violators?
Yeah, I'm sorry if there's a little bit of confusion. We're just providing an update. So not on the law itself. The law hasn't been updated, but we just wanted to provide an update on what was happening with regards to the topic of muffler laws and enforcement.
Thank you. Has there been an increased effort in enforcing this law, or just is this purely just a update to let us know what the law is?
We haven't done any recent specific and targeted enforcement on this law particularly. I know at times in the past we have received some information from the neighborhood board for a certain time or certain area, and we'd monitor, and then we'd try to conduct enforcement then. But right now it's mostly just on view when the officers are on patrol.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any other in-person questions? All right, go ahead, Edward.
Officer, a second question is on the financial end of it, violators, you said, are penalized money, what, 70 some bucks. Is that each time they violate? And what about repetitive violators, like 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out, and then is there jail time?
So what happens? Yeah, when we issue a citation, the citation will always be for $72. Now, looking into the muffler law, there is some provision for compounding the penalty, but that would be on the court end, and we don't have much input on that side. And so, as far as I know, there isn't any jail time that is associated with this law at this time.
Thank you.
All right, do we have board members online? Anwar, did you have a question?
Yeah, as I mentioned in February meeting about the noise and without muffler cars, they are racing on the freeway, and you touch this area, Mōʻiliʻili, the freeway. We live on Alexander Street, and we cannot sleep, because these people, that they're making too much. They're using this freeway as a racing, like a track, just for the fun, without any muffler and without any silencer, and it's so noisy in the midnight, especially 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning time. This kind of. So I mentioned in a February meeting about this situation.
Yeah, we're aware of the racing issue on the freeways in this particular area. I'll pass on the information again, and we'll see if we can increase our efforts to try and do a little bit more enforcement for the racing. And but I'll pass on definitely also the information on the mufflers as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any community members want to?
I still have one, Morgan.
Okay, Paul, can you just a reminder for the folks that are online, please raise your hand so that we know that you guys have questions. Go ahead, Paul.
I don't have that button actually. So sorry.
It should be at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, that's what
Okay, or turn your video on and raise your hand is what Curtis is also saying. Thanks. Go ahead, Paul.
Question. We're talking about mopeds and the noise. What about the electrical bikes? And then also one of the biggest problems here on Punahou and Baratania is trucks that play loud music. Is there any way for police cars driving by, and unfortunately you can't hear them with the window up. Is there any way we can take care of that with police cars with the windows up, hearing the noise? There's no.
Yeah, so there's also a noise violation for the like a boombox law. So I'll pass on that information that we're having issues in the area of Punoho and Beretania. And with regards to the bicycles, they mean the type of bicycle, like having illegal bicycles on the electric bikes on the street, or that they are
Right.
being reckless in traffic, or
Yes.
okay, got it. I'll
Yes.
pass on that information. We are currently doing more enforcement in the area with regards to electric bikes. That is currently ongoing right now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that I did not see a hand? All right. Thank you very much for focusing on that area in particular. That was really informative. All right, we are going to go to Board of Water Supply next. Oh, Drew.
Thank you.
Sorry, excuse me. We have one more question that I missed.
Hello, officer. Thank you for joining us. My name is Drew Erickson. The other night, I noticed some potentially hazardous behavior from a HBD solo bike. Around 7th Avenue or 6th Avenue, they were underneath the freeway in the shadow with no running lights quite late at night. And I just am concerned that them kind of hiding on the side like that, they put themselves in the potential danger if someone had to use the shoulder lane for some reason, that somebody wouldn't be able to see them in time. I understand why they're there, but it's kind of seems hazardous to me.
Yeah, I'll pass on the concern, and that kind of ties back into the racing on the freeway. So that some of the our solo bike officers will be doing traffic enforcement, and again, probably looking for racers as well. But I will pass on your concern. Thank you.
Okay, any other community members before I move on from this? All right, thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Thank you.
Let's
Have
go
a
to Board
great
of
evening.
Water Supply now.
Hey, good evening, Chair and members. I'm Stephen from the Board of Water Supply, and we're getting ready for our Big Detect a Leak Week, which is our annual campaign that we do every year. So what's exciting about this is we're doing two events. We're going to have one, our kickoff event, which is going to be at Pearl Ridge near Macy's from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. Come down, learn about leaks. You can get detection leak dye tablets and a bunch of cool swag. And then we're going to have a wrap-up event, which is going to be Friday, April 19th at Kahala Mall by Center Court from 11 o'clock in the morning to 1 p.m. You can find out more information on our website, and I put some flyers over here, so please, if you have a chance, take one home. Also, just want to help out DEM. Also, we do provide updates on main breaks, big main breaks on the new city's H&L alert system. So that's replacing hnl.info. So I put a couple of little card stack here on the desk over there. So please take one and sign up because it started April 1st. And yeah, that's our announcement.
Any questions for Board of Water Supply? Or online? If you want to say anything more about the app or this H&L alert thing, I would be love
Sure.
to know more about it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, it provides residents and visitors information about severe weather, emergencies, and other situations that are affecting city services. So you can get it via text, push notifications when you download the app. H&L Alert replaces, as I mentioned, the current system that just ended right before April 1st, hnl.info. You can sign up by getting customized alerts. Just go to hnlalert.com. And then if you just want the urgent alerts, you can do this new thing they have. It's called text H&L Alert to 888-7777 for critical safety alerts by text. No registration needed on that. And you can find out more information at honolulu.gov/DEM.
So if there was a water main break, that might be something we find out.
Yeah, a major water main break. Yeah, we just like before on hnl.info, we would only post major main breaks that impact large communities on hnl.info, which would now be hnl.alert, their new system.
Yes, Edward?
Is fluoride automatically introduced to all of the water in Honolulu City and County?
We don't put fluoride in the water.
No fluoride.
No fluoride. The only parts of the island where they do fluoride is on Kaneohe Marine Corps base, but we have nothing to do with them. Yeah, they do. We provide them water, and then they put fluoride in the water. But Board of Water Supply, yeah, there's no fluoride in any of the water.
All right. I don't think we have any other questions.
Okay, great.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Steve.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to have Mike come up, and Mike kind of has a guest. So we'll make this an extended session, I guess. And congrats, Mike, on your new job.
Thank you. Aloha board, aloha community.
You want to tell people too what it is?
Oh, okay. So this might be my last meeting as Mayor's Neighborhood Board Rep because I'm switching jobs from my current department, E&V, to going to Hart to the rail project. So I might be here next month if or maybe not. I'm not sure yet. I'll talk with Curtis about that. So yeah, aloha everyone. Mike O'Keefe with the Department of Environmental Services. Just one announcement tonight, and then a couple of follow-up items from the last meeting. The announcement is the mayor's April newsletter is available at honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. It's got several good stories in it this month. A couple of them, or one in particular, is highlights that the mayor has started his second round of town halls for 2025. So I'd encourage you to check out the newsletter, and you can see all of the locations of where the town halls are. The first one we had was in Nanakuli, and then there's one next week, April 10th, in Haleiwa, but they're going to be all over the island. So check out the newsletter. Okay, follow-up items from last month. One was a special invite to the mayor to come to a future neighborhood board meeting by board member Edward. Mayor is in receipt of the invitation and will attend if he is committed to attend a meeting in the future. Not tonight, obviously, but he will be here at a future meeting. He'll give a date. Yes. Second item, requests for Roy to come to the neighborhood board to talk about the city's homeless initiative. So I'll just pause on that and let Roy do that after I give my spiel here. Third item, related to the Alawai Bridge project. The question from Laura was, Laura requested DTS Director Roger Morton to present an update on the bridge project. It was noted that the soil around the bridge is soft. Is that a problem? With construction supposedly scheduled to start in 2026, when is the contractor going to be chosen? DTS, Roger Morton's department, responded to that. Preliminary geotechnical investigations have been performed as part of the project development. The design builder, who has not yet been selected, may elect to perform additional geotech investigations as part of the final design development. The final design advanced by the design builder will conform to the soil profile of the project area. The city anticipates advancing a request for proposals, RFP, later this year. Construction will begin after the RFP is advertised, a design builder is selected, and the design advanced to construction. The city currently anticipates that the design builder will not begin on-site work until 2026. No comment about Roger Morton potentially coming to our next meeting. We will follow up on that. Next question. Question about traffic signaling at the intersection of Punahou and South Beretania. The question was, the signaling is such that cars trying to turn from one street onto the other end up blocking the intersection when the traffic signal changes, and oncoming cars frequently honk their horns and are blocking vehicles, which creates noise pollution for the community. City planners are aware of this problem and said they would adjust the signals years ago, but nothing appears to have been done. What can the Department of Transportation Services do to alleviate traffic congestion in this intersection? So DTS responded to that. Traffic signal timing was adjusted, but vehicles continue to enter the intersection when it is not clear and therefore end up blocking the intersection. DTS mentioned that they are going to refer the complaint to HPD for enforcement. Next item, there was a request for protected left turn signals on Keomoku Street. Question related to that request: has the city considered installing protected left turn signals along Keomoku, at Rycroft Street and Makaloa Street to improve traffic congestion and safety? DTS will conduct an investigation, which may require research, site inspections, a left turn study, and an analysis of the area's traffic collision history. DTS will inform the board of the results of that study. Just a couple more here. Another one for DTS. There was a comment last neighborhood board meeting about the exterior bus display. Resident raised the concern about the color font on the exterior LCD display on new city buses. For the bus signs, blue lettering against a dark background is hard to see. Can the bus only use a white font to display the route number and name so the visibility of the information is clearer than the color font? And DTS said they're aware of this issue and they're going to evaluate it to ensure clarity. Let's see. This next question was a kind of a follow-up from a couple of months of questions, but I'll read the question and then read the most recent response. It's related to raised crosswalks. The original question was, what is the process for requesting a raised crosswalk? Residents requested raised crosswalks in the vicinity of Alawai Elementary and Kuhio Elementary. Resident Laura Ruby requested DTS consider installing raised crosswalks in the neighborhood at the intersection of Hihivai Street and University near the Alawai School. Also, the intersection of Kuile Street and Waiaka Street near Kuhio School. And then there was a follow-up question at subsequent meeting. How long do these investigations typically take? Also, if these crosswalks are observed between, there was a point made also, if they're observed between weekday hours of 7:30 a.m. and 8:15 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., DTS will see that there is a problem. So DTS's response for this month was, please be advised that due to high volume of requests, investigations typically take 3 to 6 months to complete. The times mentioned in the board's follow-up requests correspond to the AM and PM peak traffic periods and will be evaluated. Thank you for your patience. And that was following previous comments that they will conduct a study of that intersection. I think one more for tonight. And I'll also note that I have one more question to get back to, but we're still waiting on responses for a couple of more items that we'll have to follow up on next week. The last one for tonight: homeless debris and encampment on sidewalks. What plans does the city have to clean up the homeless debris and encampment on sidewalks in the neighborhood in the following areas? So nearby South King, Kalakaua Avenue, and Young Street in the vicinity of Hawa'a, Inha Park, Old Stadium Park, Mōʻiliʻili Neighborhood Park. In the areas surrounding the bus station near the intersection of King Street and Kalakaua Avenue, there is a bunch of dirt and trash, but a lot of other space. Can something be done to beautify this area? So the city's Department of Parks and Rec, which manages that area, responded. Stored Property Ordinance Enforcement, or SPO, is conducted twice a month for Old Stadium Park and Mōʻiliʻili Neighborhood Park. During the SPO, rubbish is removed and disposed of from those areas, including the surrounding sidewalks. SPO is conducted once a month for Hawa'a Inha Park, where rubbish is removed and disposed of, including surrounding areas. And so that concludes my follow-up responses for tonight. But I want to yield the rest of my time to Director Miyahara, who is here to talk about some of the city's homeless initiatives.
And then you'll take questions, or both of you will take questions afterwards.
Exactly, yeah. Thanks, Maureen.
Okay, cool. Welcome.
Evening, board. Thank you very much for having me. Inviting me tonight. Neighborhood. My name is Roy Miyahira. I've been with the city and county for about 6 weeks now. Director of Homeless Solutions. I come from the private sector, but have some ideas as to how we can combat homelessness. Let me back up a little bit and describe who I am. Born and raised in Honolulu, went to high school at the University of Hawaii, left university to go to school in the mainland, ended up working for a large corporation for about almost 30 years. Gained most of my experience in logistics, operations, customer service, basically like a backroom type of work when it comes down to a large corporation, understanding how goods and services can be moved to our end user. And I thought that type of skill set.
Director, can you speak in the mic for the folks who are online?
Oh, great. Sorry about that. So I thought that that skill set matches up with whatever I can do for the state of Hawaii. So subsequently, I came back to Hawaii, to Honolulu, to help my parents. And this job came up, the homeless solutions job, director or coordinator back then. I thought this would be a perfect fit for me as far as skill set and my wanting to give back to my community. I hadn't done anything since I've been back for the last 5-6 years being retired. I thought this was a time to really apply my skill set and my passion for people to get back on their feet. So that's me. As far as what we stand for in the city, County of Honolulu, is a couple things. First, and that is the issues that we have. The issue for folks who are experiencing homelessness is, number one, how do you get them to trust our system? After all these years and developing a lifestyle somewhere else, unsheltered, how do you get them to trust what we have to offer them? Because there is a myriad of offerings to them when it comes down to shelter. The second piece is, if they do trust us and want to move forward, do we have the capacity to deliver those services to them? Now, I think many states and cities throughout the nation, possibly globally, have this idea, and I don't fault them for that, for this, and that is a housing first type of solution. And in some cities, that does work, and building or using a large complex or facility and housing many, many people. In some cases, that has worked. But I think in the past, we found out that there is something missing there. There's a big gap in knowing how to service people who have individual needs, different priorities, different ways of life. I think that's where our city and county in the last 2-3 years, under direction of Anton Kruckner, our director of DSC, and our mayor, collaborating with our governor. I mean, that type of collaboration has really done a good job here in our state. What we're doing is using more data. We're finding out what these folks are about and what their specific needs are. We're finally looking at what we should be been doing for the last maybe 5-6 years, and utilizing that data to find out what their services and needs are. So what we're doing now is we're placing folks or giving them the opportunity to address maybe their mental illness or substance abuse treatment centers, or just a place for them to just lay their head. Now, one of the successes of our programs in the last 3 years has been the HONU program. I think folks who have been here know that it was an old stadium park at one time, I think 2021. And maybe a lot of folks don't know about the success of that program. But if they admitted in the last 4 months when they were there, 200 people came off the street and decided to trust us and trust you as a community, thinking this is where I want to be. Now, we placed 62% of those people. I wouldn't say placed, but some of these folks went to shelter. Some of them were reunited with their families. Some of them went back home to the mainland because they saw the light or felt like that's a better place for them. 62% is a large percentage of showing success in a program like HONU. I think communities that have seen this type of success and is successful now in Kapolei would want it back just because they've seen success and that they feel that there might be some hotspots or encampments here. Now, my approach to this community was to first talk to our council member Nishimoto and to talk to them about where our hotspots are. And it took less than a day for them to talk about Judd Park, talk about and the Makiki Stream behind the plaza, Old Stadium Park, Mōʻiliʻili, the pavilion, the bathroom. I think it's Hop Park off of Young Street, the extra storage area off of Kalakaua and Young Street. There are about 7 places that someone here just mentioned. So my team went out again to investigate and then send resources to them. Now I'm still in the process of trying to understand what resources I have that I can pull as levers. And I'm finding out that we have many, whether it's the Department of Facility Management, who has a road division that addresses this situation with our SPOs and SNOs with the police department. We have other type of outreach services that we do apply to help people understand that they can get off the street. I mean, there are many levers we can pull as a city and county. And we also use, again, our partners in the state too. So again, it's a collaboration. I mean, I've been away for a while, but from what I've been hearing, I know that the state and county is working together. Since these 2 gentlemen have been here, when the executives lead that way, everyone falls in place and has enthusiasm to work as a state. And that's what I love about being here in this position, is that we have a team. And if you did not hear Mayor Blangiardi's State of the City, he used the word team over 30 times. And that's what we are. And we work that way too.
Great. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for that overview. I'm sure people are going to have questions. Let's start in the room with the board. Anyone have questions for the director? All right. What about online? Anyone on the board have questions? All right, Wookie, go ahead.
Good evening, Director Miyahara. Thank you for sharing and introducing yourself. You mentioned the city having multiple levers to address the issue of homelessness. I was wondering to what extent the city's philosophy or strategy will be relying on criminal enforcement and police enforcement going forward, and as compared to the last few years.
I can't speak for the last few years. I'll bet I can find someone who can. As far as enforcement is concerned, I think that would be more of a question for the police department. Is there something more I can add to it that I'm not answering?
No, I guess I'm trying to understand the level. I mean, if your role is coordinating the multiple city departments, you mentioned DFM as one of them, and you also did mention HPD as well. Presumably, right, these different departments can increase or decrease their role or their activity, and your office or your position would be responsible for sort of trying to ensure that there aren't conflicting messages being sent or what have you. So I'm just trying to get a sense of to the extent that you have any control over HPD enforcement, what your philosophy is.
Thank you for clarifying. As said before, in the mayor's state of the city, and every meeting that I'm in with him, we have representatives from HPD. We have probably 7, 8 doctors, medical doctors in the room, many department heads in the room to collaborate with. So the coordination is not only within the city, it's also with the providers who execute the outreach and the placement of people in shelters or in housing to be the final probably stage. So the coordination piece is more about, again, nonprofits, the agencies that we have in the city, the agencies that we have in the state. There has to be a collaboration and coordination between all 3.
Anything else?
Thank you. Am I allowed to ask another question, or?
Yes, go ahead.
Another question about your role as coordinator. In the past, Partners in Care was sort of trying to aggregate the number of vacancies in the existing shelters on Oahu. And I understand that that set of shelters may not reflect the entire ecosystem or shelter network. And I'm wondering to what extent your office is keeping track of a comprehensive list of vacancies island-wide, and whether that's accessible to the public.
Are you talking about the point in time count that happens?
No, well, I mean, not that specifically. I'm talking about the Partners in Care shelter vacancy grid, where essentially it's my understanding that the major shelter organizations reported live vacancy numbers that were then aggregated and published on Partners in Care's website on a daily basis. But recently I've heard that list of providers does not reflect all of the shelters that the city or that exist in the city, and therefore that it's an incomplete picture. Because if you go on there right now and you count the number of available shelter vacancies on any given night, it's under 20 for the 2,000 plus unsheltered houseless folks that are sleeping in public places each night on this island. So more shelter vacancies. I'd love to know where they are and where the data is to show that.
Yeah, I believe you're talking about the system to track many metrics that track. The homeless management information system is where you're probably citing for information. I'm not too familiar with their site and what Partners in Care, how they're able to slice up and see all those metrics to provide a number. I do know that it is driven by HUD, by Housing Urban Development. So you're right, it does not capture everything that's out there. To answer your question there.
Thank you.
Okay.
I do want to add something to it. I just thought of it. So we are developing through more data, what we call command center. And that is gathering all that data and establishing more of I call it an air traffic control type of system, where someone is in a large command center. And when people call in, like our core team, or anybody else says, we have a person who needs help and this is what they need. They're able to look possibly in their device or their phone and understand as to where the availability is with that person's certain type of needs to go to a certain type of site. Normally it's going to be probably in the urban metropolitan area, but that's the next best thing. Again, using data, being able to understand what the folks need, finding out where the availability is in the beds that they need, and moving them there fairly quickly. So that is the next step, which will be this year, by the way.
I had a question. I was curious if you could talk about maybe one or two cities that you've identified as leaders that you would like to emulate some of their policy around homelessness.
I haven't studied enough of other cities, although I lived in the Bay Area for a long time. I saw some success, but it was just from afar because I was just feeding people and maybe just cleaning up on the weekends. Again, there were more of a housing first type of program there, but I did see little small bits and pieces of folks who reached out and were able to get them in housing immediately. I'm not sure how they did it, but I think it's just more by just the approach that they take. They had the offerings, it's more about the approach they took. And I feel as if it should be just a little bit more assertive. We're going to be very compassionate people, but if we can try to help people understand that this is something that you can do and you want to do, after 2, 3, sometimes 15 tries, you can get them there. That's my belief.
I will say, I think San Francisco is doing some interesting things right now. They elected a new mayor in November, and I know this is kind of his centerpiece of ideas that he's trying to do.
Yes, they have a wealth of resources for sure and land. I've seen what he's doing. He has a terrific plan. It's something we can model after. Take some of the best practices from them.
All right, are there any board members? I know there's some committee members. All right, Adendida.
Thank you for sharing the success statistics from Honu, about 62%. If we had to guesstimate, I won't quote you on that. I would be interested to know with our data capturing if we can quantify the success of sweeps. And so when we do the, what is it, SPOs? SPOs, and people are forcibly removed, can we define that as successful? Is that effective? Are they connecting to resources? We don't know. We're doing these sweeps. It seems like this year we are maybe trying to do that even more. So it would be nice to know if it's actually working, since that has been an approach that we are condoning and using.
Thank you for that question. I call them enforcements. I feel there's a need to help enforce some of the rules or some of the laws that we have in our parks, on our streets, and that if folks are exhibiting bad behavior, number one, illegal activity, then they'll have to bear the consequences. We go in with the approach of we're trying to help you find a shelter. We're trying to help you move on with your life. And we know that there were very hardcore people who have established a lifestyle there. We just haven't been able to uproot them in the last 7 years because we found that the enforcements just weren't effective. So we do have something new that we're going to try. And after, look, there's probably some effectiveness somewhere in turning people over. We know that. I think we have to have a new approach. And that'll come in the next 2-3 months. I can share that with you.
All right, Chris.
As a coordinator, and I know you said you work very much as a team with all your different parts, but is there a certain piece to that puzzle as a team that you think is the most valuable, or what do you think is your best resource in solving this problem?
Hard question to ask. It's like asking, who's your favorite child?
Everyone always has a favorite. They just lie.
I'm not going to lie. In the 5 to 6 weeks I've been here, everyone is outstanding and dedicated. And I would say, from a temperament standpoint, everyone has that sense of urgency. And I tell them that's great to have. Let's match that sense of urgency with the desperation that they have for the folks who are experiencing homelessness. It's definitely a different level. And the fact is, we have the capability to do that. I've seen it out in the field. Because to me, it's all about attitude. And I think everyone on our team has that type of attitude.
All right, do we have any board members online? Daniela. Daniela, you are muted.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. In this cooperative approach with several departments, is the tourism industry involved, and in what way? Thank you.
I'm going to need some clarity on that question.
What did you want to ask about how the tourist industry is involved? Do you mind just restating that?
Yes. And in what way?
I think that she's curious if there's a way that the tourist industry is interacting with what you guys are trying to do around homelessness.
I would say, I'm not sure if the tourists are involved, but I know that the Waikiki Business Improvement District has developed a terrific program that I've seen when I visited Washington, D.C. and Georgetown, and that they are making use of what we call ambassadors, that not only are cleaning up or doing some work and picking up garbage throughout the streets, but also trying to, again, do some outreach with folks who are experiencing homelessness. I think that is a terrific program, besides what we have in city and county and state, that are really, they're doing what they want to do for their district. Of course, it comes with funding. But the fact that they want to take back their streets, so to speak, I've seen it in Waipahu. I've seen it in other parts of our city but I definitely see it in Waikiki like I saw it in Georgetown, that district, where they have like an extra gear, an extra arm to address that situation. They want clean streets. They know that's where most of our GDP is probably coming from in the state, and they are prideful people. So they're using their funds to go and add more folks to cleaning up the streets and helping homeless move not to the next place, but helping them move to shelters. And we there as a city, we're there to help pick them up and move them to that next shelter.
All right. Is there any other board member online that wants?
I would
Go ahead,
like,
Paul.
okay. It seems that we didn't have places for the houseless. All of a sudden, we have a process to all these people to a home or someplace. Well, I don't understand that. I don't understand how 2 weeks ago we didn't have any place to put folks, and now you're telling us that there are. That was just a quick question.
No, I'm not. Yeah, excuse me, sir. I'm not saying that we're moving them all. That would be a terrific problem to have if everyone raised their hand and said that they wanted to go somewhere from the life they're living now. All I do know is we have services and we have shelters that we're offering them right now. And we do have some vacancies there. It would be a terrific problem to have if everyone said, yes, I want to move somewhere. We want more shelters and beds that will accommodate people who have different issues in their life. We are building more. That is part of our program, spending the funds, your tax dollars, to house these people, to get them on a path to their life.
Well, that's
You have a follow-up question, Paul?
No, I don't. It's disheartening to think that. I don't know. I'd rather not. That's okay.
Okay. All right,
I don't have
Daniela,
any
go
other
ahead.
questions.
Yes, thank you very much. This is such an important topic. Has the number of homeless been increasing in the last, let's say, 5 years? And the providing shelter is fundamental, but what cause homelessness in terms of hourly pay or whatever other condition that creates more homeless? That's one way to look at the problem from the source, and the bed, the number of shelter is looking at the problem from the end. So how are the several departments of the city or to face the source of the problem of what causes homelessness? Thank you. I know it's difficult but it's just as important as providing shelter and beds. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's a good question. I cannot answer that. But I do agree with you that you have to look at the root cause and try to stop.
I couldn't.
Everyone needs to look at the root cause of people starting to experience homelessness. It can come from many factors.
Yes.
May it be just their family life, economic type of factors, what have you. But we all know there's some story behind everyone. You can probably narrow it down to probably 3 or 4. So again, with the data gathering, I think it's a start to understand that from all the folks who are experiencing that. And then we start to move them through our system so they can get back on their feet. It's a very difficult task. I know every city is struggling with that. But the big deal, you're right, is about prevention. How do you prevent them from getting into that funnel, right, and finding themselves lost for the next 5 to 7 years? By then, it could be too late for some people. So we have to stop them from getting to that that funnel. You're right.
Daniela, you're muted. You're still muted. If you wanted to say, did you want to respond to that? You're still muted. We can't hear you. You have to unmute.
I keep being unmuted. I don't know why. Thank you again. And also from from some economic point of view, and just simply comparing investment excuse me, cost, it might also be more advantageous economically to face the roots of the problem rather than creating all the shelters and all the social worker and whoever needs to service these shelters. So both situations are going to be costly. Might as well, I mean, it could be that one is more advantageous than the other, facing the homeless problem from the causes.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's just
Go ahead, Louis.
I think I'm muted. There it is. So I was going to save my questions for the resolution that we have coming up later on, but I don't think it would have been fair if I wouldn't ask you some of the questions that's actually in the resolution. And one of it is, do you have an idea of, wait, before I even say that, before we even get to the resolution, I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand that the only thing in here that questions the city is their approach to homelessness in focusing on tourism-centric areas, which is what he kind of spoke about earlier. So that's the only thing that I have with the city on the resolution itself. There's nothing to do with criminalization, so we should be okay on that part. But the first question is, what is the percentage of homelessness that is hidden homeless that is employed? That's my biggest concern.
It's a concern and an answer I don't have, but
Okay,
I
no
can
problem.
find that out for you.
Because at one point it was in the 30s to 40s.
That are employed.
Yeah, that were employed. And that's a concern, right? So the second question is, where are the mental health facilities, right? Because the only reason I ask you is because we had a certain person here that had a conversation about speaking with or being there with the police, and one of the options was, either to be criminalized or you can seek mental health facilities, and the option was to go to Makaha. So I wanted to ask you, in this area, where is the nearest mental health facility for those that are struggling with homelessness?
I believe there's one facility near or next to Leahi Hospital. It's run by North Shore Health. I believe they have 20 beds. I went through there about 2 weeks ago. I would say they addressed that. There are kapuna there as well. If you want to go more towards the metropolitan area, there is our Iwilei section, and you might have seen that in the last month, what we're trying to do there with combining neuroscience with behavioral health and putting them in a situation where they can just heal first and stabilize, and we work them through many type of disciplines that I think get them back on their feet, at least for that time period.
Mahalo, Chair. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Sorry.
Yeah, just one more thing.
Go ahead.
This came in the paper about 2-3 days ago, and that we have a place called Ala Respite that is right next to Ala Park, and it probably has been the success story I've never seen so far. And that there's been admitted many people who have been sick, very sick, but being tended to. And there's a kauhale, the village-like structures where they house one person that's surrounding that respite area. It's a terrific type of model for people who can just walk in the doors. I think it's 24/7, be treated with dignity and heal, and then move to the next section, which would be our kauhale in the back. Success story, I think, was in the paper about 2-3 days ago.
Great. Okay. I think we are going to move to community members. So if you're a community member up here, come to the mic, please. Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you for all of your explanation. Excellent. The Kapiolani Bridge has a large population of unhoused individuals. That's right across from Kaimuki High School. The question you sort of were just referring to it at the end, the tiny homes model, which I think is Seattle has a model like that. I'm not sure, but were the ones for respite care after people come out of Queens, and it was right across the street from them. But I am actually a firm believer in the Habitat for Humanity model, in which those are houses forever, but these tiny homes can be built by anybody. And we have great facilities at Honolulu Community College, which is the carpentry shop, but we also have the apprenticeship program. And you can have something that's just sort of like an adopt a park, or come out on a Saturday and people with hammers and nails build the houses, they'd just be tilt-up houses, build them very quickly. You have to have the infrastructure, but they're only big enough for a bed and a shopping cart. And then you worry about the facilities, the social services afterwards. Anyway, I think that's the model, because there are people that are absolutely opposed to coming into larger shelters. So you're going to need, I don't know how you address that. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I love that model, and I've seen the success of that model, not only here, but in San Jose recently, and that there was a large piece of land that was inhabited by encampments galore, and through investment, nonprofits or counties and their cities decided enough's enough. We're going to build the Kahale type of system for the homeless. So on top of where there used to be an encampment, now there are the small homes that are housing all the people, not leaving their area, still having rules, which we should have rules, but they live there now. So to see that flip so quickly through investment, of course, and having the land, it's not remarkable. It's something that we all can do.
All right, Allison.
I just have a basic question. Right in the beginning that you said one of the largest issues is getting them to trust us. What is it that they don't trust the city about? What are they fearing? Or I don't understand that, or I don't know that.
I think many folks in outreach can speak to this more intelligently than I can, but I've, again, being from the Bay Area and talking to some folks and remembering what they talked about and doing some outreach here with the people I might just see at the end of Makiki Stream, or up towards Tantalus, or in Hawaii Car, or in Waianae or Mōʻiliʻili. They have a mentality which I think it's just not them, who they were. I think through the years of having that lifestyle and the trauma behind it might maybe exacerbate maybe that mistrust that they have for anybody, whether it's the government or for their family or their neighbor across the street. I think, and again, a psychologist, sociologist can speak to this better. I think the combination of all that becomes mistrust of any type of system. They just don't want rules. So the convincing and the stabilization, getting them to a shelter is important. Help them trust us and seeing that there's a path. Difficult question to answer, though.
All right, Betsy, go ahead. Are you here, Betsy? I know that your hand is raised. Curtis, is there anyone else that is online?
Hi, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Kind of. I would maybe turn off your camera and just talk.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you both for your presence today. And I'm one of the constituents, residents who live right like 7 minutes away from the Makiki Stream that's right by South King and Kalakaua. And we have some concrete questions for you. Recently, Morgan Ikaika Olds and Representative Scott Nishimoto and a few others did like a neighborhood walk right there. one of the things that we've been trying to advocate on for specific action required on having much more monitoring of that intersection right on Kalakaua and King. I think somebody previously said some type of monitoring like twice a month or once a week or something. We would like to specifically request at least twice a week on the particular intersection. Now, whether that involves action from the Department of Facilities and Maintenance, perhaps an SBO, a combination of both, we would like to see like much more active and conscientious engagement at that intersection. And, we have been trying to introduce a resolution on that. And I've been in direct contact with both Eon Ross and Ikaiga Oles on the best ways to create some kind of a resolution that's going to benefit everyone at that intersection, including the homeless themselves. One of the areas that we would like for you to specifically also look at for an action plan that's concrete is on the shopping carts. I personally live across from Palama Market and from Don Quixote on 1670 Kalakaua. And I, in fact, with Paul Robati, the former chair, have inquired with Don Quixote. And, I have also inquired with some other retailers on their policies on stray shopping carts. I understand from Don Quixote that they basically do not have the capacity to chase
30
after the
seconds.
so we would like to ask for your specific input on discussing strategy with Don Quixote and Walmart and Sam's Club, especially for Don Quixote, to really monitor their shopping carts. And we would like to have like some kind of resolution or bill passed on this. We realize that there already is some kind of a strategy. It has not been able to be enforced. So we would like your cooperation in seeing a concrete action plan within next month's neighborhood board meeting. Thank you.
I don't have a plan for that. I'd love to see this plan that was built. I'll tell you what I've done in the short time that I've been here in the ʻīwili area. It's, I think, very difficult to control a company's, let's just say, pallets or their shopping carts. So what I've done, I took this upon myself to go to the Home Depots and to the Lowe's out in the ʻīwili area, and I've asked them very gently, your pallets are going out the door because they're just unguarded, they're not secured, and they're ending up in the street with folks who are building structures that are unsafe. I know it's a loss for you to be losing your equipment. It's costing you money. Would you please think about maybe moving these materials that other folks are using to different parts that are not as accessible? Now, I can't speak to shopping carts because I'm just not sure how to corral them and secure them without people taking them. But I'm going to try and use that type of approach, these type of businesses. It's a gentle approach, but it lets them know that there's a loss in your store, in your business, by letting these things go out the door. I'd like to see the previous plan, though.
Betsy, did you want to follow up?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you very much for trying to follow up. But what we need is to hear a response from you that you've actually managed to reach out and like write to the manager of Don Quixote. And I can give you the names and references for the management that I've already spoke to Don Quixote, who were not able to come back with any kind of succinct strategic action plan. And I know that Ikaiga Olds, our representative, have been trying to work on this, and I'm pretty sure that Scott Nishimoto is also looking at this. So we, in fact, would like to have like a multifaceted task force or an action plan that involves different layers of city and county and state and the other departments relevant to actually deal with the shopping cart situation, which should not be impossible. So I'd like to forward my email address to Morgan, who can forward it to you. And I can also let you know exactly who at Don Quixote Management I spoke to over several months ago without any kind of response back. Thank you.
And I also just don't know about existing technologies, right? Like there's lots of grocery stores that use like a quarter system to get a shopping cart or put locks on them. We've seen those other places.
Yes, correct.
Or have tags on them.
All of the above. You had something else? Go ahead, Liz.
You know about how much it costs for an SPO, a full SPO?
I don't know. I've asked for that information before with another city, just out of curiosity, because I'd run a logistics company with the logistics company. But it would have to do, of course, with cost per mile in their vehicles, the tonnage, and how they dispose of their units and their labor. I think it should be fairly easy, but I could ask our DFM, Department of Facilities Maintenance and Road Division, because they're the ones who do the pickups and the cleaning of the park.
It sounds like at least
$25,000
at least to get all of those resources out there to do an SPO at least.
Okay, for SPO.
Well, so if you can just bring us back the number, and the reason why I mentioned that is because we cannot be having these SPOs and chasing people around, because that's part of the resolution itself too. Is what we don't want to do is not, it's not like not having it in our backyard. What we want to do is provide solutions and resources to those that live in our community.
Yes, right up my alley. But understanding the cost behind it is important as well. Yes.
All right, if anyone wants to follow up with you after this meeting, how can they best do that?
I have an email address that you can reach me. I wrote it here on the note.
Do you mind just saying it for folks online?
It's roy.miyahira@honolulu.gov.
Great. Thank you very much for coming and taking all these questions. We're going to do a very speed round for Mike. So we have 5 minutes total. If you have questions for him, you can ask them in 10 seconds. So anyone have questions for Mike that they would like to get answered? You might not even come back next meeting. All right. I see a couple community members. Go ahead. Maybe Mike, you're just going to have dictation, Go ahead.
Aloha, aloha, bar mahalo. Thank you for being here and congratulations on the new position. My question is, at what step is the Alawai project at in terms of the environmental impacts statement? And if you can provide like a timeline, assuming that the city is thinking that's going to be done by 2025 or getting started by 2025. The bridge project. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Who's next? Go ahead.
Real quick, are you aware of, or do we know if any of the cuts from the federal are going to impact our infrastructure? I know that they're cutting Medicaid or VA or whatever, but specifically infrastructure here for Oahu.
All right, go ahead.
I work in an infrastructure department, so I know the answer to that. And right now, nothing. For sewers, I haven't heard anything for water. Electricity, we can't really speak for. That's private energy, HECO. But sewers, I haven't heard anything for water. Streets, stuff like that, nothing so far. But we'll see.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else have questions for Mike? Mike is going to get his last meeting with barely any questions. Anyone who is online? All right, Daryl, go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, I was wondering, in regards to the streams that go into the Alawai Canal, who handles taking care of the overgrown mangrove, especially by Holston Stream? There's a lot of overgrown shrubs and trees, maybe on the Date Street. There's a stream coming from the old Willow's restaurant, comes down Date Street, and then goes towards Marco Polo. But right between on the Makai side of Date Street, there's a stream that is between Date Street and Kapulani. Right in there, there's a lot of overgrowth mangrove, and who takes care of those? Is it the city, county, or the state?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll follow up on that. I'm pretty sure it's a city and county, but I need to confirm. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Okay, go ahead. No. Come to the mic, Laura. Daryl can't hear you otherwise.
It's called the Alanayo Stream. That's the correct name. Thank you.
All right, I just had a quick question. I had seen that the passed legislation to limit the number of festivals in Waikiki, and I was wanting to know if it's hoped that Kaka'ako and Chinatown and other neighborhoods will have more festivals, or if they've actually reassigned where those festivals are going to be and they will now be in those neighborhoods. Yeah.
I'll follow up, Morgan. Thanks.
All right, we have anyone else? We're going to be done with Mike O'Keefe questions in 4 minutes. All right, we did it. Bye, Mike. Maybe see you next time.
Follow up.
All right, I think Taylor is here for Councilmember Nishimoto.
Aloha, Chair Lee. Thank you for hosting today's meeting. Per Betsy Caramura's request, we did a community walkthrough late last week on Kalakau Avenue. We addressed some, issues along that avenue, and I already submitted those risers with Councilmember Nishimoto. So, we're gonna work. Hopefully, we're trying to inquire about doing a beautification event and how you folks can lead that and how we can support you about that. About the bus stop fronting Heli gas station. So we're gonna look into that. I'm gonna get back to you, Morgan. Among other things, I'm trying to look into how to, what the schedule would be for the stream and different things. We also did, councilmember hosted a community meeting at OCM Park on March 17th, jointly with Department of Transportation Services Deputy Director John Nochi to discuss the situation of metered parking on Eisenberg Street. He did recommend that the community members who are very upset about the newly installed meters, kind of bring their issues to the board today, but I'm not sure if they're here or not. But, we did try to, address their questions and hopefully, John Nochi does sound like he is willing to potentially implement different hours for the metered parking. So we'll see how that goes. And then finally, Councilmember Nishimoto and Representative Bellotti will be hosting an Easter egg hunt and food drive at Makiki District Park next Saturday at 9 a.m. So this is going to be a free community event. There'll be pictures with the Easter Bunny, Easter egg hunts. So a lot of great events for the kids in our district. So feel free to come by in the morning if you want pictures with the Easter Bunny. We've been doing it every year, and we ask for donations to support the parish at St. Clement Food Pantry. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions, or I can look into any problems that you folks may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Taylor. All right, anyone here on the board in person? I'm not seeing anyone. Or am I seeing anyone on the board online? Community members, Laura?
Another point of information for everyone, it's really Eisenberg. The family is still living somewhere here, I believe, in town. So I know everybody says Eisenberg, but it's really Eisenberg.
Sorry about that.
Is there anyone else who has anything? All right. Thank you, Taylor, for coming. We appreciate it. And thank you for attending the walk last week. It was good to see you.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
All right, take care. All right, we're going to move on to board business. First thing that we have here is the 3 absence letter for our board member, Wookie Kim. And I'm just curious if there is any motion to declare this seat vacant. Otherwise, we'll move on. Yes, Wookie's here. All right. We're going to.
Yeah, that's not.
Paul?
Wookie. We have to keep Wookie. He's a good man. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. Is there anyone that is wanting to fill one of our at-large seats? Did you get an email from anyone? All right. Great. We have 11 people here. Okay. Approval of written summary for video record from Thursday, March 6th, 2025. Linda, go ahead.
The only revision to the minutes, if no one has any objections, is Milton DeValle was present at the start of the meeting, so we'll just strike secretary arrived at 6:52 p.m.
Okay. All right. We have on here a resolution to call for the testing and cleanup of McKeeke Stream. If I think many of you recall, at the end of last meeting, I wanted to make some edits to this resolution. Betsy, who was one of the people that had introduced this resolution several months ago, or had brought it up, disagreed with these edits, and so we are going to put the original resolution on the agenda for next month and see what happens then. Yeah, we're going to postpone it. So see you guys in May when it comes to that. All right, Louis, you have the floor. You have 5 minutes to go talk about this resolution on addressing homelessness and housing accessibility in Honolulu.
Thank you again, Chair. So this again just addresses the issue with the current approach to homelessness in disproportionately focusing on tourism-centric areas such as Waikiki for enforcement and resource allocation. We just, heard that the Waikiki economic, I'm not sure what it was called again, the businesses.
The bid.
Businesses put money into it to create more enforcement per se, whether it's through security or through, and that's what the reason for the resolution is to provide some kind of equity. And there's 9 bullet points that I just wanted to provide. Again, this is not criminalizing homeless people or those that are struggling without a home, right? First one is equitable resource distribution. So a balance of allocated homeless services across the island of Oahu. I live by Kalo Park, and I gotta admit, like, right now there's 2 cars there doing meth right on the corner, and there's a lot of people that are homeless that are there, that live there. They have encampments. We have tried to have conversations about it. I don't take my dog to the dog park anymore because there are dogs that are loose at the dog park that's not secured. So I feel like we had to put something on the table. And again, this is the neighborhood board. So this resolution is going to be driven by the neighborhood, not necessarily from from me just putting it on the table. The second thing is local representation in policy decisions. The third thing is enhanced data collection for policy accuracy. Basically, we talked about those that are struggling with homelessness that is employed, right? Prioritizing housing first, which is amazing. I'm glad they're bringing that back, where they provide services in the home that they put the person into if they're interested in getting a home. Again, majority of the time, because I've been working with homelessness for a long time, especially on the Waianae coast for at least a decade. And living out here, it doesn't seem like, I'm seeing the same kind of issues. But expanding housing first is amazing. That's one of the key points in here. Service integration in urban centers. Since I've lived there for 3 years, I've never seen case managers or anybody go in, and I've asked neighbors. So maybe having the Honu come by in different locations in our district might be a little bit more. And again, the Honu is amazing. It brings trust, right? It puts your feet to the fire. It shows that you're doing something. And I believe in the Honu, it helps a lot. It's there, it's got resources, and it's available for people to just walk in, right? Accountability and oversight on service providers. Implement performance audits or give some incentives for caseworkers to come out and, not necessarily give them 1 toilet paper a week or some toothpaste or no, come out and actually help them and hold their hand and actually get them housing, It's I'm not saying that our case managers are not working out. They're just not working out in the neighborhood that I live in. Development of affordable housing for those interested in housing and make it so that way they can afford it. strengthening homelessness prevention programs, expanding initiatives such as rental assistance, eviction prevention, and trying to help those that are struggling with homelessness, again, that have jobs, right? And then having community-driven solutions, which is why we're here today, having the conversation about this resolution. Thank you again, Chair, for allowing me time to share this resolution with the neighborhood.
All right, so I believe we need a motion to discuss this. Anyone want to make that motion?
So moved. Aldana.
Second. Second.
All right, is there anyone here present that would like to add, clarify, elaborate, push back?
Since my resolution was kicked to the curb, I was hoping that we can add as an amendment to yours, Lewis's, how I feel that that corner of Kalakaua behind the Hele gas station and the Jack in the Box, for me, really serves as an indication of the health of our community. We don't have community place-driven metrics for knowing if we're successful or not with tackling these really complex issues. And yet we can see very clearly when they're maybe not being addressed. And so that particular corner to me is a good indicator of the health of our community. Is there rubbish all over the ground? Is there dirt kicking up because there are no native plants there? Is there a whole bunch of rubbish in the stream? Or is the stream being used for kalo? There are little baby kalo plants in that stream. Can they get large? Right? And so maybe we can add a little bit of that. Maybe we can say, we can look at a place like this as an indicator, and maybe also name some of the places that we commonly talk about that are quote unquote hotspots of this issue that is concerning to us.
All right, anyone else here? Lewis, any thoughts on that?
I think what she had said was in the hot spots that they talked about, unfortunately, none of them are in Waikiki or in that area. We're not talking about Kahala. We're not talking about Hawaii Kai. Again, the equity, right? Equitable resource distribution. That's what we're talking about here. And so I just wanted to make sure that we understand the hot spots are not in the area that is aligned with this resolution. Thank you again, Chair.
All right, let's go online. Go ahead, Wookie.
Lewis, for introducing this resolution. I agree with the overall sentiment behind it. There are sort of two issues that give me pause. One of them is the idea of sort of equitable enforcement, or in other words, I would not be supportive of any resolution that is suggesting or asking for increased enforcement of anti-homeless laws, across the city or what have you. So I would request that the clause or the phrase for enforcement in the fourth whereas clause be struck. That's my one issue. And the other issue is kind of more, I'm not so comfortable with the idea that we should be so focused on addressing visible homelessness in economically important districts like Waikiki, because the reality is that that just incentivizes people, the city, the system, incentivizes the system to push people who are houseless out of sight and into far worse environments, far worse living situations, right? Where much further from access to resources, services, shelters, food, employment, family, friends. And so there's just some element of this idea of like what's visible or not that was giving me a little bit of pause, and the idea that we should be encouraging the sprucing up of Waikiki by ridding the area of visible homelessness, because invisible homelessness, and I think you're noting this too, right? There's a lot of this issue that is not visible, and it's still really problematic, right? There are so many people who are working not just one job, but 2 jobs and are still houseless. And that's a huge problem that is not being addressed. So I'm ready to adopt this resolution with kind of some minor tweaks. Well, I would move to amend the resolution to not mention the phrase for enforcement. And then I haven't really thought of how to address this visible homelessness in Waikiki issue, but those are sort of my comments. But thank you for raising this, but I ultimately agree that this is an issue that needs to be addressed sort of equitably island wide, because otherwise it just leads to NIMBYism and pushing the problem to other communities, right? Other neighborhoods and boundaries, and that's not going to be a way to solve this problem.
Thank you, Wookie, for sharing that. I'm wondering if it would be helpful for everyone if you're able to discuss how your work impacts this. We often see you quoted in Civil Beat and so forth in the media. Feel fair?
I mean, I'm happy to. I mean, I think what's relevant from my day job, if you want to call it that. So for those who don't know, I'm a civil rights attorney at the ACLU of Hawaii. I don't want to go into nitty gritty, but I think the central point that I want to emphasize for purposes of this discussion is that our organization is committed to helping those who are most marginalized and underserved by our system, by our not just legal system, but just our broader political system. And houseless people are some of the most disempowered, disenfranchised, marginalized groups or people in our society. And having talked to a lot of folks, talking story, sharing coffee and donuts with folks, it is really sometimes disheartening to kind of hear the stereotypes, the constant stereotypes about this group. And, that is part of what is motivating me to not, to speak up when the people in power want to focus on scrubbing houseless people out of sight, in Waikiki, for example. So anyways, I don't know
Thank
what else
you.
to
I
say.
appreciate that. And if there's other folks who feel like they have a personal or private interest relevant to this, I would ask that you please share that too before we end up taking any action on this. Louis, did you want to respond?
Yeah, this is not the first conversation we've had about trying to curb our issues with those that are struggling with homelessness. And I wanted to ask if Wookie, do you feel that this is a conflict of interest and to recuse yourself? I respect everything you had said, but it feels like everything is aligning with the voting that you've done in the past. And I feel like it's going to be in the same interest today. The resolution is not calling to kick people out of Waikiki or to do anything to any other neighborhood. That is not what the resolution is about.
If you want me to recuse myself, I'm happy to do that. I don't feel super strongly. So should I just recuse myself? Does someone need to move to recuse me? I don't know
No,
what the
it would be
procedure
too
is
late
here.
to recuse yourself because you already had the conversation. And so I think
Wait,
it's
I'm
okay.
recusing when it comes to voting.
Yeah,
And
sorry,
discussion.
I meant as to voting.
And
Okay.
discussion.
In discussion?
It was in the email.
It just says on here, any member who makes any disclosure shall not be disqualified from participation in discussion or vote in the matter. A member may choose to be recused. And then a recused member shall not participate in the discussion or vote.
What is this referring to? Sorry.
This is, yes, it is the neighborhood plan, and then it's under disclosure. It's maybe Curtis can put in the actual. language or information?
Only because the opposition is very heavy, and I feel like it's not in the best interest of our neighborhood who is here to try to actually make this resolution go through.
Okay. I mean, I think Wookie has chosen to be recused. So therefore he is not going to be participating anymore or voting. Edward?
I'm indecisive here in this whole issue, but I just want to compliment Wookie if you're still listening, and don't go too far away. I'd like to keep you around, if for no other reason. As a wordsmith, I love what you just gave me, the word NIMBYism. Just kind of drop that in. I asked Professor Google, and he gave me the definition of NIMBYism, and it's very applicable. Thank you, Wookie.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else here present for board members? Is anyone raising their hand? Daniela? Daniela, you are muted again.
I would like to apologize because I was cut off for the first part of the presentation of the resolution. And so now I don't have sufficient information to have my judgment on it about accepting or refusing. At the same time, I really appreciate also what Mr. Kim said in providing also that type of perspective. I appreciate what the city is doing, but the issue is quite complex, and I appreciate inputs that sometimes make it more complex, but more truthful. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that I'm missing online? I had a question really quickly. Louis, I think I mentioned this when we were talking about things earlier. Can you share more about what you wanted to do by highlighting Waikiki in particular in this resolution?
What are we trying to accomplish with this resolution? And how does it affect Waikiki, I guess is the question.
Or were you trying to say we want the rest of the services to match the level that Waikiki has, or we want to make sure that we really do prioritize Waikiki?
Exactly. Because in that effort, they're pushing them out into our community. And I'm not saying they're not worth it. I have people in my family, and I was homeless all my life growing up. So I know what it is to be homeless. I lived in a homeless shelter growing up. So pardon me trying to be empathy, but we do have to provide them with services and provide them with some of the care that they deserve.
Were you calling for other like business improvement districts though in other neighborhoods to be able to provide like the ambassador
So this would be something that we can actually table and have the conversation next month if we wanted to, because it sounds like that might be the only option. It seems like if the commercial businesses don't get aggravated enough or don't get aggressive enough, then there's not going to be any action, right? So we've tried to have conversations in the past as I was the chair of the housing committee, and I brought these issues forward, and now it's in a resolution and it's in writing. And so here it is, we can have this conversation, but it just basically says that we would like the same enforcement that we have in Waikiki and other areas around the island.
Community members here? Any community members online? All right. We need a motion and a second to vote? All right, let's go to a roll call vote for this resolution.
Donna.
Abstain.
Abstained. Devaye, absent. Caldera.
Aye.
Caldera, aye. Milton, are you online?
Yeah,
Or present?
I'm listening, and I agree with the brother, the one that put that resolution. So I.
Okay, thank you very much. Aye. Devaye, aye. Caldera, aye. Hulls. Abstain. Kachuk.
Abstain.
Abstain. Kim has recused himself. Lee. Aye. Minerby.
Abstain.
Abstain. Quadri.
Yes. Aye.
Aye. Robati. Robati.
Abstain.
Abstain. Salas.
Abstain.
Abstain. Young.
Abstain.
Abstain. 4 ayes, 0 noes, and 7 abstentions. The resolution has not been adopted. Need 7.
All right, Daniela, you have a couple minutes to just give us an update about where you are with the survey project.
About the questionnaire? Sorry, cannot hear.
Yes, about the questionnaire.
Okay. So I will present at the next board meeting. I would like to present, excuse me, a questionnaire that approved by the neighborhood board that in which we ask to the resident, and we'll find a venue to ask to as many residents or resident organization that we can, for which we can have the list of people, what are the priorities, the most important needs and concern of our neighborhood in order of importance. Because we are, so let the voice of the community be heard and provide them a venue to express their priorities and needs. So next week, I would like to help me whether I need a resolution, whether I need something for this questionnaire to be accepted by the board and used for the purpose of finding out what are the most pressing needs and concern of the neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, so you'll be sending a questionnaire that we'll upload and people can see in advance of the meeting, correct?
Yeah, not only, and we can also, if we have that possibility, we are allowed, we could email for asking them to respond within a certain period.
Daniela, are you sending out the email for the survey to the residents?
Yeah, I will send the email to Morgan, but the whole board has to approve it. So I have to present it. Yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify, at the May meeting, you'll present the final questionnaire and the board will approve it before it is shared with the community. Okay, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Okay, sounds good. We will look for that next meeting. All right, let's move on. Do we have Governor Green's representative? Is Brooks here? All right, we are going to move on from Brooks. We do have Elmer, finally.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for your patience for last month. I am going to kind of speak slowly. I kind of get over from the bog. I have asthma, so it's kind of impacts me a lot. There were several requests at the last several meetings from the community. So let me go over that really quickly. The first one is regarding student housing and how many students are actually on campus, how many other needs are. So let me kind of explain that the University of Hawaii had a record number of people enrolled, more than all the other campuses. A good example, in fall 2023, we had about 14,000 students as undergraduates. 20% of them lived on campus and the other 80 lived off or around campus. As you know, we have about 10 dormitories or 10 units, apartment unit, and 2 apartment units. We do have one that's closed, that's Mōʻiliʻili, and we're trying to make it work. We do have a 5-year plan in place to make sure we can adjust because we know more students are still going to come to our campus. So looking ahead, we do have a 5 to 7 year renovation plan, which includes improving the area. As you know, we do have some sites around the campus, Rise, and so on. So those are actually opening up, and we do have the newest one, which will be coming online, which is for our graduate and upperclassmen on Dole Street, right across from Fair Hall. That should be online fairly shortly. The other question was raised by a community member was and this is more me doing more research, and I'll track it down, a request regarding the Mōʻiliʻili Gateway. The border regions approve a designation of the entry area. I'm still working on it. It's a lot. It's been a while. Yes, it's been a while since it happened. I'm not giving up on that. However, I do want to share that we actually Border Region did approve the same name project, which is called the Mōʻiliʻili Gateway Project. That is the project with Kamehameha schools when you're improving that area, so the back area as well. So that includes apartments, eating areas, and so on. I won't get into much detail. I still need to talk to Kamehameha schools because maybe it's something they can present to you all together. We are working with them on that. The other question was regarding eating areas or facilities for students after hours. We actually do have, thank you for the question. That one was really cool because I have to go back to our student services folks. We actually do have a plan in place called Safe, Welcoming, and Active Campus Life After Hours. And this happened because we did lose a lot, like every campus. Pandemic really hurt a lot of campuses. So we're trying to get back up there. But we do have facilities, actually eating facilities that are open to about 11 o'clock on campus. So I think I shared a lot of it with you on the email I sent you all. I do have some information here for those who actually want it. Like we have a market, which is located at our dorm area, which is open till about 11. Our Starbucks are open pretty late, 10 o'clock on campus. And of course, when it's study hour, it really flex. It's really flexible and so on. We do have actually safe areas for our students to make sure we can do that. I do want to share just one note. As you know, we've always been talking about that little area right across the street from our campus where the lab school is located. We actually our consulting is going to start doing some feasibility study workshops in early May. The first one is May 2nd. It's a Friday from 3:30 to 5 at the University of Hawaii Architecture Auditorium, which is right on the main road. We will have more details on our website, but we will have, hopefully they're trying to do a virtual one as well. The target here has always been trying to get all the communities involved in the discussion of that area. It is such a valuable area and so on. Final note, yes, we are impacted by the federal impacts. Right now, the lead in those are President Hensel and Board of Regents Chair Gabriel Lee. They are taking the lead. They keep us informed almost weekly on what's happening with that. So outside of that, I'll cut it here and open to any more questions.
All right, let's also do a speed round for this. So are there any questions for Elmer? Go ahead, Chris.
You said Noelani dormitories are closed. Is that all the buildings that relate to Noelani?
Yes. The Wainani is the only apartment and the smaller units of Wainani.
Yes. And then I know we have asked this question before, and I didn't see it in your email, and you didn't say it today. But what is the capacity of the dorms? Are you completely booked?
Yeah, so sorry. I actually do have another report for next month for that. It's actually very. We are, since the pandemic, we try not to be 100% capacity. We do leave a little area. COVID has never gone away yet, right? So we do need areas in which we can do it. So The occupancy can be 100%. We're about 90%.
And then of the like roughly 14,000 undergrad students, what's the percentage of local students?
Oh, actually, on our campus is pretty high. I would say a little bit over 70%
Little over
is local from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then we do have a big contingent from international as well.
Yeah, and that works. I think I just wanted to know, like, as an undergrad student, when I went there, I had a dorm mate that was born and raised here. So I understand that you don't need complete student housing because you do have a lot of local students. But I guess my main worry is building too much housing when you can have other alternatives, especially with KF
Correct.
building up the area.
Yes. And that's what makes the community very, very uniquely different, is being able to provide a service. It's an economic benefit for our residents.
Yeah, and it is. I remember it being cheaper than alternatives as well.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else on the board in person? Board online? All right. Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, first, I'd like to thank Elmer for the exhaustive report that he gave. If you read it, you really will find out. It's a very good understanding of what's going on campus. Second of all, I'm the one that founded the Mōʻiliʻili Gateway resolution and took it all the way to the Board of Regents. That is the name. I don't know what Kamehameha Schools is doing horning in on it and what they're going to have to plan on, but it's got to be understood that we designated that area that never got developed because it never had enough money. That has the kiawe tree and all of that all around there to make it nice and green. There's some things that were planted, but never enough money to do the whole complete planting. So that's one thing. The other thing that concerned me after I read the thing today, you said that 80% do not live on campus. That would say I am opposed to any development over at College of Ed, because that would say that 80% of the people are going somewhere else. They're not hanging around school after hours to do something else. I did, of course, suggest that opening up East-West Center cafeteria and bar is a really nice place to go. And this hasn't been available for decades, but it's a really nice place and will really bring people around. It already exists. Let's see, there was one other thing that I had to say, but I can't remember it now. But anyway, thank you, Elmer.
Just one thing. The East-West Center, we are working with the East-West Center. As you know, they are struggling with having federal government. So we are trying to work with them. They do have dormitories as well, residence halls. They're struggling to also try to fill that. So those are potentially down the road, but that's still in the wind. We'll figure it out.
Elmer, I'm wondering if for next month's meeting, if you could actually prepare a little report about the state of the federal cuts and what that means. It'd be really helpful for us to see the positions that have been eliminated, departments that don't exist. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask for that.
Thank you. That would be great. All right. I hope you feel better. All right. Up next is Senator Ihara, are you here? I saw you post something on there. All right. Senator Fukunaga, you are here. Thank you for coming.
Just kind of quick report tonight because we did have the Senate Ways and Means Committee vote on the Senate draft of the executive budgets earlier this week. And I think like everyone else, the Senate position right now is pretty cautious. The Council on Revenue's projections came down during the month of March. And with the potential federal cutbacks, I think everyone is, kind of taking very careful steps to make sure that we don't overcommit before we find out how many either jobs or services we might lose. So one quick thing was celebrating some of the things that the Washington Middle School students and McKinley students have recently done. And there's a bill that has been pending on the Alawai Canal, which is talking about partnering with UH in developing additional ideas and recommendations. So perhaps, I know that the board and residents in this region are very concerned about the recent article that talked about much higher costs. So it may be that this is a good time for us to all come together again and re-examine some of the recommendations that have been made in the past. I know that there in the past was a recommendation that the various levels of government, city, state, federal, all divvy up their areas of responsibility and look for ways to work together rather than relying solely on the federal government programming for flood control. And finally, one last thing, we have been having some very interesting discussions on condo insurance. So today there was a briefing with the Hurricane Relief Fund and HPIA talking about how they're planning to set up their programs for relief, either in making insurance more available as well as perhaps less costly. So in the next 2 weeks, we are going to be putting together some sort of helpful tips for condo communities in McCully, Mōʻiliʻili, Makiki, Punch Bowl, etc. And we're going to use those meetings just to kind of get a sense from community people and condo neighbors as to what they're actually experiencing. Because I think from the HHRF and HPIA perspective, they're looking at the big picture, but I think we really need to be able to provide them with a lot more detail as to people's actual experiences. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions here on the board? Chris?
What was the bill number that corresponds to the LOI canal?
Senate Bill 1146. It's on the back page.
Thank you.
Anyone else in person on the board? Any board members online with questions? All right, community members. Go ahead, Laura.
Hi, thank you, Carol. Regarding the Alawai Canal, I want you all to remember, this was decades ago, but Carol went out into the middle of the canal on this island that was in the middle. It was a silt island, and it was very dramatic. Now, that is what happens. And you should see the picture. It's really good. But what has happened just 2 storms ago, we had a floating island that was sort of underneath the water, but was floating of debris. And of course, we have the huge debris trash. I suggest a very simple suggestion of you put nets up in the mountain area and then further down at different places. And what you do is you catch the debris and you find out who are the people that are throwing stuff into the streams. And that's a real quick way to catch it very, very quickly to find out what's there. And of course, you know that there's so many other problems associated with the canal that I could go into, but we won't go into it now because we'll be getting to answer any questionnaire that she has. And one of the last thing that I somehow didn't hear what happened to the cannabis legislation? I know it was in or out of committees or went to from places. Do you happen to know? There's one bill that is still alive, but it's primarily medical cannabis. It's expanding some of the areas of regulation, in a way that is intended to eliminate a lot of the illegal activity that has been occurring. So this is primarily to help those who have caregivers who are also assisting them by growing cannabis for their treatment.
You could say the number one concern right now of the legislature when it comes to government funding being cut, maybe a particular department or issue area, that would be interesting.
Well, I think, if we look at the 2 budget bills, the House draft of the budget and the Senate draft of the budget, it'll be very clear that even though the largest areas where we rely on federal funding aid would be areas like Medicaid, SNAP, Medicare, under Department of Human Services, Department of Education. We have probably close to $1 billion in funding that we rely upon, University of Hawaii. But for almost every single department, there are areas that are funded through federal funds. So Department of Labor, for example, a lot of their programs are also include federal funding when it comes to things like unemployment insurance. A lot of the staffing is also funded through federal funds. So if you look across state government, Department of Agriculture, we have a lot of the recent grants that we have been proposing for coconut rhinoceros beetle, little fire ants. We have a number of grants that were there. A lot of our wildfire mitigation funds that were approved last year were all restricted, and canceled as of this year. So we think it could be pretty pervasive, but it's hard to tell at this point.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move on? I appreciate you coming in person. Thank you very much. All right. Senator Moriwaki or anyone from her office? Nope. All right. Representative Garrett.
Good evening, Chair.
Hello, hello.
Hi there. Sorry I couldn't be there in person this evening, but just building off of what Senator Fukunaga just said, I mean, it's a very somber state of affairs at the legislature just because of all this uncertainty and chaos from Washington, D.C. To put it in perspective, about 20% of our annual budget has a federal connection in terms of funding. As she said, like, Medicaid, SNAP, those are the kind of the social service items that we're really concerned about. So we're being very cautious and conservative when it comes to new expenditures this session. There's a very good chance we're going to have to come back in a special session at some point in the summer or fall just to see, come back and try to figure out if we need to appropriate some of the money we've held in reserve. We do have a balance of about 1.5 billion in our rainy day fund. The House version of the budget added another 200 million, so we're at about 1.7. But we're obviously not going to be able to allocate that all to backfill any federal cuts. I mean, we still need a pretty healthy amount because the money really is intended to respond to like natural disasters and whatnot. But at this point in the legislative session, we have less than a month to go. We're probably down to 500 or 600 bills at this point, and I'm guessing by the past practice holds, about half of that will ultimately make it to the governor. But we have a major deadline coming up tomorrow for second decking. Then the chaos known as a conference committee starts in the middle of April into the sprint through the end of that month. So just wanted to mention that I did add drop my newsletter into the chat box for people who are online, and for members in the audience or on the board who are residents of District 22. This is the same newsletter that hit your mailboxes this week. So with that, I'll stop and see if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Representative Garrett. Anyone here? Questions? All right. Anyone online? I know we just had Elmer here to talk about UH, but I'm just curious, Representative Garrett, if there's anything else that you wanted to mention that you're particularly worried or concerned about?
Yeah, I think just, the President Trump has said he wants to dismantle the federal Department of Education. In many ways, education is done at the state level, but the federal government does fund things like Pell Grants and all kinds of research initiatives. So, if they end up cutting funding through like the National Institute for Health, NIH money, there's a lot of National Science Foundation grants that support various departments of UH. I mean, if all the funding for these things get cut, he's obviously focusing on trying to dismantle DEI initiatives, climate change type of things. And these are areas that UH is very strong in and has been committed to for quite a long time. The potential impact could be catastrophic. I don't want to overstate things, but the research side alone, I mean, we could be looking at thousands of employees losing their jobs. Even if the grant funding is not cut itself, they did make a move to restrict what are known as indirect costs. So this is the amount of a grant that's allowed for things like overhead. Typically, any grant from the federal government, they permit about 50 to 60% of those funds to be used for indirect costs. They're talking about slashing it down to 15. So that's going to have a real impact. We have a very good UH Cancer Center that's trying to do research in this area. So, just really on pins and needles here, trying to see what the impact might be to the higher education in particular. But yeah, thanks for that question.
Elmer, you want to share something too?
Chair, I have a question, and you don't have to answer this. Is really, what is your sense about NASED? I mean, we have to still be on campus. We don't know how long. So, any idea? NASED is the new Aloha Stadium Entertainment District. But just a thought.
Elmer, when you say chair, are you referring to me as the higher ed committee chair?
Chair higher ed. So
Okay, sorry. No, I just wasn't sure if you're talking to Morgan as chair of the board. Yeah, so I did introduce a bill that would basically redirect the funding for the new Aloha Stadium project. If you have been following in the paper or in the news at all, there's a real funding shortfall. There was a bill to legalize casino gambling, which I just think goes to show how desperate the situation is. Any decent stadium is probably going to cost upwards of $700-800 million. The state chipped in 350 million in CIP GO bonds back in 2022. That money is going to lapse if a contract is not executed by this summer in June 30th. So I have a bill. It's still technically alive, but it's kind of a different form at this point. But the House position has been to redirect that money to UH, just to try to give the UH football program some certainty. Because right now, if the project, the NASED project out in Halava does fail, it's going to be just a unmitigated disaster for the UH program, because it'll be years before there's going to be a permanent solution. And right now, we're looking at this at Chingfield. I mean, UH did the best they could in very tough circumstances, but it's meant to be a temporary stadium. And if we don't get a solution soon, they're probably going to have to spend another 20 or 30 million to replace the temporary bleachers, which probably only have 2 or 3 years of shelf life left. So I know it's not a perfect solution because, being the representative from Manoa, I'm very familiar with how tight spaces on the lower campus, but we just need to have a plan B in the event that the project falls apart.
All right, Milton. Milton, are you
Yes.
there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, let me put my camera. I'm sorry. I was trying to work this out over here. Hopefully it works this time. Okay. Can you see me? I don't know. I don't know if you guys can see me anyway.
We see you and hear you.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I hear a lot of, I don't know if you're the right person that I can address this, but I hear a lot about funding, losing jobs, and also homeless as well. And you're talking about like how catastrophic it can be, which is true. So how you guys are like kind of like thinking, are you guys thinking on a plan on how to mitigate this? Because there is so much stuff going on, no money out there. Now people losing jobs. We're dealing with a lot of homeless. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Right now, unfortunately, we're kind of in a wait and see approach. A lot of the stuff that President Trump has proposed has been stopped in the courts. A lot of attorney generals, basically from blue states, have sought injunctions to put a pause. So the courts have intervened. But it's not just the funding cuts; it's the potential recession we're facing. Just yesterday, President Trump announced a whole series of tariffs against other countries. So he came into office. Sorry, I'm not trying to make a political statement here, but he did come into office saying he was going to lower the cost of living and bring prices down. But we're probably looking at the opposite effect once these tariffs kick in. So it's very possible that it's just going to have a very chilling impact on people's pocketbooks. We obviously rely on tourism, so if people are worried about how stable their financial situation is, they're probably not going to spend money to fly out to Hawaii for a vacation. They're going to focus on their core things and maybe try to save as much money as possible. So, there's a federal, cuts potentially on one side, but there's also the potential recession by these economic policies he's pursuing. And we can only do so much as a state, but, we're trying to prepare as much as we can. Again, being cautious with how we're going to budget for the next 2 years in our biennium.
All right. Thank you, Representative Garrett. We appreciate you being here. I think we're good on community questions, so let's move on to Representative Olds.
See you next month. Thank you.
Representative Olds, are you still here? All right, I'm going to go to Representative Tam, and then if Representative Olds will circle back. Are you here, Representative Tam? All right. Well, if either representative is here, please unmute and say so. We are just going to go on to. Oh, there you are. Okay. Thanks, Representative Olds.
Hey, sorry, just trying to lock up this bedtime routine for the kids. But hello, everybody. Rep. Kaiko Olds, House District 23. It's getting kind of late in the agenda here, so I'm going to go by quick. So as Chair Garrett had mentioned, we're kind of wrapping things up. In the House, we're going to be getting Senate resolutions probably in the next couple of days. Sorry, I still have one over here. And after that, we're going to be entering into conference. So just a legislative update from myself. HB 943, it just got passed out of WHAM in the Senate, and hopefully we'll get its third floor hearing and passel in the next few days. That is the homeless triage bill. And I know that's kind of been coming up a lot in tonight's meeting. It was really nice to meet the new coordinator for homelessness for the city. We're expecting big things, and I'm hoping that he's able to get up to speed rapidly. I wish I was there to be able to give him some questions, but I'll follow up with him later. I also have a House resolution, HCR 180, which talks about homelessness. Essentially, it's asking the state, the counties, service providers, and law enforcement to work together collaboratively to address the homeless issues that we have. And I'm here for any questions.
All right, any questions for Rep. Old? All right. I'm not seeing anyone online or in person with questions. So thank you for coming and good luck with bedtime. Representative Tam, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for having me. I know that we're getting close to the end of the agenda, so I'll keep my report short. I just want to tell you about 3 bills. Senate Bill 958, which happens to put regulations on electric bicycles. House Bill 212, which makes the Return to Home program for homelessness and housing solutions permanent, and Senate Bill 1044, which has to do with the stabilization of condominium property insurance. So I am open to any questions you may have for me.
Any questions here? Can you say a little bit more about how the return to home option works?
Yes, so the return to home option is run by IHS, and it is completely voluntary. It partners up with airlines or other travel industries to get them back to the mainland, and it also connects them with a family member there so that they are taken care of.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else have anything? Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to community concerns. Is there anything that we have here? Nope. I don't see anyone here either. All right, so we are going to move on to board announcements. So next meeting, we are going to be meeting at 6. So see you guys here at 6. This will be on May 1st. It will also be here. There's a couple things that I want to note, and that is that we are going to be moving the date of our June meeting to the last week of May. That is so that folks that would like to go to Mayor Blangiardi's town hall are able to do so, and that is the town hall will be on June 5th, and our June meeting, so to speak, will be on May 29th, which is also a Thursday. So just want to note that that will be a little bit of a scheduling change. And then I also wanted to let people know that we have this area called Waikiki Shores, which is down the street. It's right next to Marco Polo, and they have housing that they offer to families that were dealing with homelessness. So Michelle and I will be going to a tour. If anyone would like to come, it's going to be on Tuesday, this Tuesday, April 8th at 3 p.m. So they have parking there. You can park at the park. You can walk. Yeah, if you would like to come, you can also just email me, or if people don't have my number, they can get that through there. We'll all be meeting there and going on a tour. So that's open to the community and open to neighborhood board residents or neighborhood board members if you guys would like to come.
Morgan?
Yeah, the meetings. Paul.
Morgan? Question. You guys asked to look for places that would host our meetings. And I found out today that we're locked into this place. So the places that I got bids for, I'm just going to toss that. So So we're not going to be moving. And if you ask Curtis, he's the one that told me actually. So,
Paul, this is Chris.
Yes.
I reached out to Aloi Elementary. They were wanting over $200 to host our meeting there. I talked to Curtis about that, and I think what we floated around, which I haven't talked to anyone else about yet, was maybe changing the date or the day of the week that we meet here to not a Thursday, just so maybe, yeah, so maybe a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday meeting. No, Friday, just Monday or Wednesday, so that we can avoid the martial art noise and stay at this place.
well, the places that I got were Central Union, the intermediate school over here. Everything was 200 plus. But
Okay.
That's okay.
Well, thank you to both. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you doing research, and Chris, I appreciate you doing research as well. Representative Olds, did you have a question? I just saw your hand was raised.
Yes, sorry, Chair. I just wanted to follow up on Waikiki Waves on Kapiolani for the homeless. Was that what it was called?
Sorry, did I call it Shores? Is it Shores or is it
Shores.
Vista? My brain is.
So Catholic
Chicago
Charities
time.
runs a emergency shelter and a bridge program out of, it's called Hali'imiola out of the,
Right.
I guess the old Tokai, yes.
Right. So that's Catholic Charities. I worked with them to set up the tour.
Oh, okay, awesome. I just was curious to see if there's another opportunity here in Honolulu for our houseless neighbors.
I
Thank you.
apologize for being confusing with the names. Yes, but we'll be converging with Catholic Charities. All right. You guys can see the other announcements about here, about the Lolo broadcast 311 and this food bank situation, which I guess we're supposed to donate things to Curtis here.
So from the mayor's March 2025 newsletter, Mayor Blangiardi and Lieutenant Governor Luke launched a joint city-state food drive for the Hawaii Food Bank. The public can donate non-perishable food items at all satellite city halls, including our office at Kapala Mahale, right across from Costco, Ivale, Honolulu Fire Department fire stations, or the Lieutenant Governor's office at the state capitol. Also at next month's meeting, since the food drive ends on May 9th.
All right. Thank you, Curtis. The meeting is adjourned. It's not very loud.